Hello again, and welcome to the SEC Daily here at Southeastern 14. Joined as usual by my co-host Blake Lovell and Gavin Schoenwald. I am Chris Lee. This is the Friday edition. We'll go to noon Central. On today's show, we'll give you some final previews and predictions for this weekend's SEC action. Remember, this is all SEC on SEC. And the second half of the show, our special guest, Big Orange Tux Guy. I will just leave it at that. I'll let the intrigue hang in the air, but this one is going to be fun, I can promise you. We are always looking for sponsors here at Southeastern 14. If you are interested in that, please contact caroline.smith at southeastern14.com. Always appreciate those inquiries. That's what it takes to keep this thing going. Gentlemen, we are about 24 hours from kickoff. In fact, we're exactly 24 hours from kickoff of tomorrow's games. We've got Kentucky, Florida at noon. We've got Arkansas A&M at noon. So we're going to get right into football action tomorrow. Again, this is the weekend we have circled for a while. It is the first SEC on SEC only weekend. I want to ask you guys, before we get into previewing individual games, Gavin, I asked you this yesterday, so I'm going to ask Blake today. Blake, what are you most looking forward to about this weekend of SEC football?
The fact that there are nothing but SEC games. I mean, I don't have to worry about non-SEC games. I think that's probably the biggest thing is, that's the easy one. I always say Arkansas A&M, in my opinion, is always one of the feels like wackiest games of the year in the SEC. So I think that would be at the top of my list. I'm curious. I'm not just going to pick one thing, Chris. This isn't how we operate here. I'm going to give you 8 different answers. But, can Auburn score enough points against Georgia? Vanderbilt, I think, has got really nothing to lose, while Missouri has all the pressure on them ahead of a potential, next biggest game of Eli Drinkwitz's career next week against LSU at home. LSU Ole Miss, I think, could be in the running for most points scored in an SEC game this season. Tennessee, South Carolina, revenge factor, although I think, like my guy Brian Edwards says, I think that's a little overplayed. Probably not from the Tennessee side, but in terms of how you break this game down, Alabama, Mississippi State's interesting. Kentucky, Florida's interesting. So, Chris, you asked, what am I most looking forward to? I just gave you something on every single game. So, I'm most looking forward to everything this weekend in SEC football, in addition to eating some CHOMPS. Wonder if I can put my head to the side on the CHOMPS logo and try to take a bite. I don't know if that works, but
well, you promised 8 different answers and you delivered.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So, Gavin, I think you answered that yesterday, but any new things that have popped into your mind since we've done that?
It's funny, Blake, because I didn't give him one answer either. Just fired up. It's SEC on SEC play. We've talked about this over and over again. Interconference play is going to be a war this year. Margins are so much smaller than they've been in previous years, and so that Jerry's World game for sure, because obviously it's a wacky game, like you said, Blake. But I also feel like this year the teams are as desperate as ever. The coaches are as desperate as ever, and both teams need it. And so start off with that one, and then I'm really excited for the one in Oxford as well, and see if Lane Kiffin is we all think he is, and mature enough as a coach to turn the page after an emotional and disappointing missed opportunity last week, and now that was the biggest game of the season last week, and now it is this week against LSU and Brian Kelly at home. So a lot of storylines, a lot of things to talk about today, but fired up to get into it.
Yeah, first part of the day, and I hate that these two run concurrently. I'm not going to put you guys on the spot and ask you what you would watch if you had to pick one. I'll just start in the order that I've got them. Florida, Kentucky, many storylines here. Both teams have got really good defenses. Both teams have veteran quarterbacks who've been a little shaky at certain points. Florida's run game probably a little bit better. This, to me, is whose defense is better, and maybe can Kentucky stop making stupid mistakes? Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, to be honest with you. And I think, Chris, you and I got a front row seat to watch that Kentucky team last week, and littered with mistakes, but talent across the field, explosive playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Barian Brown, obviously, Vanderbilt transfer, Ray Davis, Dane Key, who I think is maybe one of, if not the most underrated receiver in the SEC. And so, players all over the offense side of the ball, they should be able to score points. Kentucky is just a turnover thing. It almost, turned into a real game in the middle of that third quarter last week. But on the other side of the ball, I look at Florida and what a whirlwind of a 4 weeks for them. They opened up at Utah. Basically everyone, including myself, counted them out. And they come home and they win a big game against Tennessee that I remember, Chris, when we were talking about that about a week or two before the thing, you were like, before the game, I remember you saying, yeah, there's no way, Tennessee loses that game. And I said, yeah, I don't think so either. And that's the beauty of why we play the games. And so what a whirlwind for Florida. But then again, this is the first time we see them away from the swamp since that Utah game. And they go into a hostile environment, Kentucky, which I think, personally, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated places to play in this conference. It is loud. It is raucous, especially with Stoops' comment about the tailgating and the beers. I'm sure it'll be a little extra rowdy this week as well. And so I actually got Kentucky 27-24 in this one, a big win for Devin Leary and the guys to get rolling here. And so 27-24 is my pick for that game.
Chris, this line opened at 1.5 in favor of Kentucky. And as long as it stayed under 3, I was fine with this from a betting standpoint. I don't know. I think this is the kind of game that I know Florida beat Tennessee, but if they win this game, then I will be all in on Florida. But I think I want to see that before I am completely confident. But like Gavin, I think this is a really close game. I'd be surprised if either team just, pulls away from this thing. And I'm gonna go Kentucky. I think they win it by a field goal or more, is my opinion. And to bring up this question from SC Scout Guy real quick, yes, I will. No, wait, hold on. If Florida beats Kentucky, not the opposite, I'm picking Kentucky to win. So I think it needs to be the opposite way on that. And by the way, Chris, this is a great segue.
Yeah.
If you are looking to have your business or product sponsored here on the show, you've got prime real estate. Here, you've got prime real estate here. You've got prime real estate here. So you're welcome if you want to advertise your business. Give me the cats, Chris.
Was that a hint? Prime real estate? We gonna bring prime on?
Maybe.
My kid loves that stuff.
I don't like giving stuff away, but maybe.
Could be. Well, what's the line and the over/under on this today? Because earlier in the week it was 2.5 and 46.
1 to 1.5 in Kentucky's favor. This thing is going down, pushing towards Florida. We still got till game time. Looking at the numbers now, I think it's going to settle at probably 1 is my guess in Kentucky's favor. So basically a pick 'em here. I think in that, I don't know. I'm going to lean towards Kentucky on this one.
Over/under, what have they got now?
44.5. Give me the under.
Okay. I think you're right. I mean, this might be 13-10, honestly. So that means 23-22 Florida.
You're the math wizard.
Yeah, well, I have help. Also at the same time, by that one, I can't speak. By the way, that one on ESPN. That's what I'm trying to say here. Also at 11, SEC Network. In Arlington, Texas A&M and Arkansas on a neutral field, which also happens to be in the state of Texas. What have we got on the latest line and over/under?
The latest line and over/under on this game is it looks like Vanderbilt's down to 5.5 in A&M's favor, which I want to say it stayed 6.5 for a while. DraftKings down to 6 on this one. And just again, guys, if you want expert betting advice, which is not my advice, Brian Edwards does a great job, and you can check out the show we did with him this week on Thursday. But yeah, Chris, so this one's 5.5 in favor of the Aggies. This has gone down since the Connor Wegman injury, but it's not gone down significantly. It opened at 6, or no, actually it opened at 5.5. Excuse me. It went up to 6.5, back down to 5.5. So one of those tricky numbers I don't love to play. So,
and over/under on this one?
I don't know. 800. 53.5.
53. Okay, so that's fallen a little bit too. That was 55.5. So that's now 30-24 A&M. Gavin, you lead us off here. What are your thoughts?
And this is one of the ones that we talked about looking forward to. I think it's two desperate teams, two desperate coaches as well. I think ever since that Miami, I think A&M really, really expected to win that game. And when they didn't, it created some conversation about Jimbo and basically everything that we questioned in the preseason. You know, for Sam Pittman and crew, they got to take the next step. I keep saying that. They got to take the next step, and what an opportunity here. Blake, you said it best. Wacky things happen in this game every year. I remember watching this, and you know, I think there's going to be either like a blocked punt, a kickoff return, touchdown, some type of special teams big play. That's going to be the difference in this one, but it's going to be close. I got Arkansas winning a big game in Arlington, 31-30, a 1-point game.
You know, Gavin knows what he's talking about. And so I think this is – I'm just going to tell you, I still think A&M's the better team. But I just think this is the game every year that I feel like there's just wild things that happen. And I liked how Arkansas – how the game against like fought back a little bit, right? Like that was a game where it seemed like for a while there, and you come off the loss to BYU and you just don't really know what direction. But I mean, I just tend to think that this is one of those where I felt like last year we were all in on Arkansas winning this game, and what happened? This year, I think a lot of people are going to be really in on A&M here, even with the quarterback change. Max Johnson's really good. But I'm going to go with the Hogs. I don't love the pick set. If I had to bet it, would not bet this game at all. And again, I think the Arkansas got off to a good start last week against LSU. LSU just what LSU can do. They make big plays, but they were right there toe-to-toe, down a touchdown, get a score. Like they were right there with their chances at LSU. So I'm going to go Arkansas in this one.
So you're both taking Arkansas.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go A&M. Just the belief that that's the better defense. This game scares me too. I don't have a great feel on it, but I'll stick with what I think is the better team here. So I'll take the Aggies. Okay, next one up, we've got Georgia and Auburn in Auburn. Blake, the latest line and over/under on this one is what?
Well, you're going to give me 1 second, Chris, to get to this.
Blake's the new betting analyst here, baby.
I keep asking him the same question. You would think that he would.
Well, yeah, but then you're asking me for my analysis. Then you're asking me to pull up comments. You're asking, like, come on, man, you're asking a lot here. My first day on the show this week, and Chris is just piling on. Which game are we talking about again? Is this Georgia Auburn?
We're off to a great start here. Yes, Georgia Auburn.
Blake. That's your fault. 14.5 at FanDuel. Georgia is the favorite. I mean, my goodness, call Brent Musburger or something. Calling me for this. DraftKings 14. So 14.5 on this one. Started at 17.5. So I told you, Chris, earlier in the week, this thing was moving down. Continues to move in that direction, it seems, especially on DraftKings, down to 14. So over under, I think is the interesting one, 45.5. And I'm going to pull up a stat here in a second. I'm going to let Gavin go first on this one because I'm going to pull up a stat for you on this game.
All right. So here's my take on this game is Georgia is by far and away the better team, the better program, better coach, better defense, better offense, just in every category. The only thing that I'm a little shaky about is they haven't played that Georgia standard that we've seen in previous years. At the same time, I think this is a big opportunity for Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss, their first, home game under his reign. And they didn't look great last week, especially offensively. I literally think they threw for like 40 yards in that entire game. And so they got to find a way to make some momentum on the offensive side of the ball. But speaking about momentum, I think Georgia's offense needs it just as much too. I mean, they haven't looked the part nearly with Carson Beck in there as they did with Stetson Bennett. How can they find ways to get the ball to Brock Bowers? How can they find ways to get Dominic Leavitt more involved? He has kind of been a little bit of a no-show for Georgia after being an all-SEC guy at Missouri. And so, I think that this is kind of a show-me game to Georgia. I think they're going to win it. I got them winning 31-10 Georgia, but I still think that, if Auburn can keep it close in the first half, I'm still not going to be sold on Georgia because that's kind of been every single game this year. They were down to South Carolina at halftime. They've kind of struggled out the gate against UAB. Like I need to see Georgia come out and dominate and prove that there's a reason they're the number one team in the country.
All right. So here's the stat from Covers. Chris, did you know that both of these teams rank 95th or lower nationally in first quarter points.
Mm.
And did you also know that Auburn is third nationally in allowing 1.8 second quarter points per game? So I tell you all that to tell you this. Take the under in the first half. I don't know what that is, but take the under in the first half because these two teams tend to get off to slow starts. And I don't know if that happens here. I could fully expect that. Or here's what I could also see happening. Georgia realizes it's still Georgia, and we see them crank it up a notch in this game. And if that happens, I think Auburn's in trouble because I don't trust Auburn's passing game. I think Auburn's path to victory here is to control the clock, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But that's going to be hard against Georgia.
And
so
that's it. That's it right there, Blake. It's like Auburn can't put themselves in a situation where they got to play catch up because that's done through the air, and that is not the strength of their game and their team right now. If I'm Georgia, I think if you and I know it, I think they sure as hell know it. They got to find a way to come out the gates hot, get up 14, 21 by halftime or something like that, and right off in the sunset back to Athens. That's what it needs to be for them. But if they mess around and start slow like they have been at the other games this year, we could see a little bit of a dogfight for a quarter or two.
The two teams that have made this interesting, guys, the two games we go back to now that we have for Georgia, the close calls for a little while. Missouri last year, South Carolina this year. What was the common denominator in those games? Both of those teams got off to great starts in terms of like being able to hold Georgia down. They played well enough defensively. They slowed Georgia down. They were able to kind of control the game a little bit for a while, but then it kind of flips because, again, Georgia's just Georgia. So Auburn can't afford to get down early here, or I think they're in trouble because I just don't know passing-wise. We got to see a lot more than we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's hard for me to trust a team without a quarterback. It is really hard for me to trust a team without a quarterback when that team is playing Georgia. I don't know that Auburn gets to 10 points without help. A short field, a defensive score, which Auburn has done a couple times this year. So there is that. Just have not seen enough out of Auburn to think it can mount enough offense to beat Georgia. We see crazy things in this game. I don't think we're going to see anything that crazy in that regard. So I will take Auburn. All right, Gavin, I will exempt you from this because it's your old team.
The Kirk Herbstreit rule. The Kirk Herbstreit rule here. Like when Herbstreit calls the games, he can't make the picks on game day. This is what we're doing for Gavin. You're not letting him make the pick.
I like it.
We will exempt you from talking about your ex-teammates here. Missouri and Vandy and Nashville at 3, First Bank Stadium. What are we looking at? 12.5 for Missouri, 13.5?
I think it's 12.5.
Okay.
Looks like it's up to 13.5 now, but it looks like it's moving in Vanderbilt's direction based on looking at some of the spreads here. 13.5 on this. The total is 54.5, which I understand based on I think Vanderbilt, how many points they've given up. So I think that's why that number's higher. I tell you, Chris, this is one of those games where I said it earlier, all the pressure's on Missouri here. And it would be very easy to look ahead to the LSU game because everybody's talking it up. You could be 5-0 at home against LSU, and then you're talking like SEC East title. You win that game. Like you are right there in the thick of things. And I know what's the number here. Let me find this real quick on Vanderbilt against the spread this year. I'm pretty sure they've not covered this year once. Yeah, 0-5. So I know that everything is telling me to take Missouri in the 2 touchdowns, especially this thing's at 13.5. Missouri could win this thing by 2 touchdowns, take Missouri. But I don't know, man. I'm going to pick Missouri to win the game, but this is kind of one of those games where, like I said, I feel like it is an opportunity for Vanderbilt to Missouri, 3 of their 4 games this season. Yeah, reset. And 3 of Missouri's 4 games have been close, right? MTSU game, close. Kansas State game, close. Memphis game, close. Now, they won every one of those games, and I still think they would win a close game here. But I just feel like sometimes Missouri has let teams kind of hang around a little bit. And I think with a Vanderbilt team with nothing to lose, potential reset week, Missouri's offense has been much better, but do I still feel like Missouri puts up like 50 or something here? I don't know, because I still think but again, that's going to depend on Vanderbilt defensively. This is one I would not touch at all if I was like betting this game, but I'm also telling you, I don't think I would be shocked here if Vanderbilt kept this right there with a chance, but it's going to take a much more complete effort than we've seen thus far against a much improved Missouri team. And yeah, this is, I feel like for Missouri fans, I've been repeating this, but I just think like every game feels dangerous, like at this point, because I feel like because of how close these games have been, I'm like, you feel like you're kind of just playing around with fire a little bit sometimes. And you're going on the road here. I don't know. I'll take Missouri, but wouldn't be shocked if Vanderbilt made this interesting, at least for a little while here.
Blake, you and I see this game very similarly. Missouri has got some guys banged up. I expect Brady Cook and Luther Burden are going to play, but Darius Robertson probably, I'm going to guess, is not. Vanderbilt's not a good team, but I think it's due to play better at some point. Clark Lee put his guys on notice this week. I especially felt like he was putting the quarterback position on notice. Very interested to see what that looks like tomorrow. I will take Missouri to win, but in terms of, I don't bet anyway, but if I did, I don't think I would touch this one. By the way, did I inadvertently take Auburn?
Yeah.
Did you take? Yeah, Chris is taking Auburn. Let's clip that right now.
You did say, you said, so I got Auburn, and I was like,
oh, that is not what I meant.
That was the old Lee Corso pump fake headgear, pump fake.
Auburn.
Right
no, let me. Man,
Sorry,
sometimes
Chris, you don't get
the head is
redos on live
thinking
shows.
one thing and the mouth says something else. I'm gonna try that excuse with my wife sometime. Yeah, it's Georgia. I don't trust Auburn to score. Sorry. Yes,
sorry,
moving
Auburn
along
fans.
now.
Brutal. Taking you out on a first date and saying I love you, and then saying the next day, you know what? No thanks. Man, brutal, Chris. Brutal.
You see, I have to deal with here, Gavin.
Yeah, I see it.
We're
good. We're good.
All right, LSU Ole Miss. Another one that, man, I just do not know what to make of Ole Miss after last week. I think the most sure thing in the league right now is LSU's offense. Like, I don't know how many offenses in this league I really trust, but I really trust LSU's offense. And in short, that's why I think LSU is going to win. Blake?
Does anyone have more just top-end playmakers from top to bottom than LSU?
Not in this league.
No.
Florida State might, but
I think that's the difference for me. And again, one of these games spreads 2.5, not really moving much. If this got to 3, I'd take a chance on Ole Miss at home as a field goal underdog at home maybe, but points, 67.5, the over under here. I think this is one of those games when it's this close. I think you take the better team. I think LSU's the better team. Ole Miss can keep up offensively because you can attack LSU secondary. Brian Kelly's talked about it all week. Secondary, we got some issues we got to fix. And if they let some big plays happen this game, if Trey Harris is back, I guess we don't know at this moment unless I just haven't seen it. They still got other options, right? Lockett Sweat. I mean, Ole Miss can put up points here, but I think LSU can put up just as many. And I'll take the Tigers by a slight margin just because I think they have that. I'm going to find you another stat here real quick, Chris, and this is a good one because I was looking this up yesterday in terms of like how many big plays LSU has made this season. And it is, let me give you the number right here.
Is this the 20 yards passing downfield stat?
So, no, it's not that one specifically,
okay.
But there's 7 different players who have made a play of 38 or more yards this season.
Holy smokes.
So just think about that. They've had 7 different players make a play of nearly 40 yards or more this season. But, when you combine Neighbors and Thomas together, I mean, it's just hard for me because I think Ole Miss's defense struggled a little bit against an Alabama offense that I still don't think is that great. So, yeah, I'm taking LSU in this one.
So here's how I view this game is I'm super interested, and I said this at the beginning of the show, to see what happens and what Ole Miss looks like coming off of last week. Because I think that, we all understood how monumental that game was, but I think in the locker room as a player, when you know that you have such a huge opportunity and let's call it what it is, they blew it. It's a down Alabama team, and they caught them on a sloppy game too, and Ole Miss played just as sloppy, if not worse. And now you got to recover and find yourself in welcoming a championship caliber team in LSU to your home stadium. Can you truly turn the page? So in my opinion, look, I think LSU is going to win this game. I do. I just think it can go one of two ways. I think LSU can blow them out. I really do. If Ole Miss is not focused and truly turn the page and deflated from last week, I think LSU can win this one big. Or it can go the second way, which is kind of the way I see it, as LSU is going to score a lot of points. Ole Miss is going to score as well, but I don't know if they're, if Kiffin's offense this year is as high powered. I mean, they scored 10 points against Alabama, 10. And, now they're playing a similar caliber team in LSU. Do we really expect them to go out there and play and, score 40 or whatever it may be? I don't think so. And so, like, how do I see this game? I got LSU winning at 45-35. I think Ole Miss is still going to score points. I think LSU is going to score more, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. 45-35 LSU in Oxford.
Real quickly, Chris, shout out to Nathan, a regular here, has become a new member of our Just Means More tier. If you guys want to hit that join button, Nathan's been trying to do that, I know, for a while. We appreciate him joining us. $3.99 a month. It just means more. Basically, just donating to the channel to help us make more videos. What do you know? So that's what we do. So we appreciate Nathan joining. If you guys want to do that, hit the join button. $3.99 a month. We do appreciate it. A lot of great people joining that tier. And real quickly, Chris, before we're going to run through these next two games quickly so we can get to our guests. But Ball State, don't go anywhere. We got a very important interview coming up for you, Ball State. Ball fan, as we know, Chris, our expert ball fan.
Yeah, good to see State back in the chat here.
All right, let's run through these quickly, Chris, these last two.
Okay, speaking of Vols, Carolina and Tennessee, that game in Knoxville, I'm seeing
South
about
Carolina.
12 and South Carolina, Tennessee. I
don't do it, Chris.
What I'm saying today.
Don't do it. Yeah,
Tennessee to win. Trust the running game. Trust the defense more.
Yeah, I got Tennessee as well. I think South Carolina's walking into a raucous environment, and I think they're really going to miss Juice Wells. So I got Tennessee 37-24.
Tennessee is an 11.5-point favorite, 12-point favorite in some places here. I think Tennessee wins. I just double digits. It worries me a little bit because Spencer Rattler's been playing really well, guys, and I don't know. I think this is a closer game than most may give it credit for. So I'm going to take Tennessee to win, but I don't think we can discount that South Carolina's been playing a lot better since that first game against North Carolina. And I know they've got some issues in a variety of places, but SC Scout guy coming in, actually Oreo Puppy Dog I pulled up. Wants to start Joe Milton at wide receiver this week. SC Scout guy's got Carolina by a touchdown, but I think it's close. But I'm gonna take Tennessee.
I've heard some people taking Carolina outright in this one. I think that I would like Carolina's chances a little more if it weren't for what happened last year, because I think they're going to walk into a bit of a beehive in Knoxville. All right, last one up, Alabama at Mississippi State. I've talked about this. I've decided to get the stats to back them up. Last year, these two teams played. Alabama won 30-6. Year before, Alabama won 49-9. Year before, 41-0. Year before, 36-7, or is that 38? I can't tell. Year before, 24-0. Mississippi State, for whatever reason, Nick Saban has got their number every which way. Does not matter where, does not matter when. This one requires no thought. I'm taking Alabama to win, and I don't bet on games, but if I did, I might even take the 14.5.
Blake?
I mean, I think it questions Alabama's offense, but the thing is, I don't know what to make of Mississippi State's offense just yet either. They got playmakers, but this number's moved up to 15. That would scare me a little bit with Alabama's offense, but I mean, I just don't know how you could pick against Alabama in this spot. So I'll pick the Tide.
Yep. Straight up. Got the Tide. I think they're going to beat them pretty good. I got them down 31-13. So.
All right,
gentlemen, that's it for our preview section of the game today. I think Blake might be dropping out on us to make room for our guest.
Real quickly, Chris, let's answer Shane's question. Shane's threw a couple questions in.
Sure.
Who's our pick right now? Missouri or Kentucky, the second best undefeated SEC team?
Right now, Missouri.
I don't know. Ask me tomorrow.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know either. Ask me tomorrow.
Ask me tomorrow.
I got both winning, but it's close. So we'll see. But all right, Chris, we're getting to our guest, and Steak's got revenge on the mind. So I'm going to hop off. I'm going to add our guest on, and you guys have fun.
All right, gentlemen, we welcome to the show J.R. Green, or should we call you Big Orange Tux Guy? I'm going to start. I've got a little beef here with J.R. JNR and our sons have been playing baseball together for like 5 years. I mean, off and on, there's been a year or two we weren't on the same teams, but I've known this guy. Jared, how many times have you and I sat in the stands at baseball or basketball games and talked sports?
6 years. Easy.
Huh.
I think JR's internet is struggling a little bit. Could
Hold
be
on.
mine.
I think it's you, Chris, because I can hear him.
Okay,
y'all
great.
Can you hear me okay, Gavin?
Yep, I got you.
It's clear?
Okay.
All right, good. 6 years. 6 years.
6 years. How did it take me looking up and seeing you on the ESPN front page to know you were Big Orange Tux? How did this never come up in a baseball bleacher conversation? My feelings are a little bit hurt here. I'll be honest.
I didn't tell anybody. We're talking about baseball. We're at a baseball game, Little League baseball. Your focus is all on those little kids. You just forget about your job. You forget about what you've done. It is kid focus.
Well, I want to ask you. Let's start here, and then I'll let Gavin get a couple in. How did Chris Lowe get this story? I mean, it's been 25 years, and first of all, let me let you tell the story.
Okay.
I'm kind of presuming that everybody knows
Yeah,
that everybody's
I need
not
to hear
read
it too.
ESPN.
I need to hear it.
Yeah,
too.
this is awesome, and it's going to be even better in your words. So let's have at it.
Very good. And Gavin, have you read the story?
Chris briefed me for about 30 seconds, and I was just as confused as ever. So I think I need to hear
You
it.
got to read the story. I think the only feedback I've gotten back, besides that Chris and I thank him, huge thank you to Chris because he wrote just it's an amazing story, but it is like a 30-minute read. It's basically
Yeah.
a short book. It's a short book, and the amount of research that Chris had to do, and I mean, he and I, like you just asked Chris, he and I actually connected 3 months ago in terms of that. And in that period of time, he had been researching this story. And you can tell, Gavin, you haven't read it yet, but Chris, the level of detail is it's incredible. I don't know any of the people that he interviewed, and they remember the moments and the activity throughout the event. But Gavin, if I don't want to take up too much of the show, so if you've never heard the story before, and if your viewers watching it have never heard the story before, the backdrop, it's pretty ridiculous. And so the way I could just start it off, Gavin, is that I've been a lifelong Vol fan. I did go to college at TCU, so I still have to put the Horned Frog up.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Where I went to undergrad. But let's be clear. In 1997, and for any frogs on the phone, we didn't have a football team. So for 4 years, the only time I ended up at a game in 4 years was when I won homecoming king at TCU. My junior year, we were playing TCU, and I had to go on the field. And I think there were 10,000 or less fans in the stadium. So, I mean, long story short, I then left TCU, came to Tennessee to get my MBA. Like every single member of my family has gone to UT. So I had to go back. And by the way, the reason I went to TCU is my mom would not let me go to Vanderbilt or Tennessee because she said I had to be 500 miles away from home because I was such a mama's boy. Chris, you can see that happening. You know that's
Yes.
You know that.
Right.
And so at that point, but I made it back home, to Vol land. And 1998 was such a special year. I'm on my second year of business school. Tennessee beats Mississippi State. I go to my dad and go, Dad, I got to go to this game. Tickets are expensive. I'm just a college, grad student. And I just was like, oh my God, I got to get tickets. He's like, son, you need to go because it only happens once every 50 years. Now, Dad's going to be wrong because we're going to do it in the next 25. It's got to happen. Or I'm going to be in a wheelchair to lead the team on the field. But the big thing about it was, Gavin, for the folks that haven't heard it, is 98. And the year before, Chris Fowler had made a statement on TV, game day, basically, I think calling it trailer park frenzy, related to how frustrated we were that Peyton Manning lost the Heisman race. And I think from there, I was like, you know what, we've got to show that Tennessee has class, that we're not trailer, we have class. And so I said, what does that? And I kept thinking about Notre Dame. They've got this gold and green guy, and Notre Dame seems to be on a pillar of, college sports and football. And at that point, I basically said, you know what, I'm going to get a tuxedo and I'm going to dye it orange. And I basically was going to be the Dumb and Dumber guy before Dumb and Dumber came out. But I dyed the orange tux. I dyed the tux, and it freaking came out peach. And I don't have the gloves here to show you, but basically I've got the old glove that literally they came out peach because polyester does not turn orange. In terms of the dye I used. And so I was like, crap, I've got to go back and buy another white tux. So I went out, got another white tux. And this time I said, forget it. I'm just going to use magic marker. Got the orange magic marker. And as you all can see in the, this is the official Big Tux that will be going to Knoxville. I'm going to be on a couple of shows this weekend. So I'm an Evertonian, and Philip Fulmer gave me a call, and we had a chance to touch base on some fun activities. But as y'all can see in the camera, that right there is permanent marker. Yeah, permanent marker. And it's hard to beat what I designed before. I think it was even known as the Power T.
Oh, nice.
Was that magic markered?
Yeah, that's magic markered.
Okay, you did well there.
So I mean, like I did it right, and you got the pants that had the little streak, and so that's how you actually did the streak. So that's it. The gloves, as y'all can see here, and then the tuxedo actually came out. It dyed well, but it looks more like tie dye and orange.
Yeah.
You could tell.
What did you dye that with?
It's called Rit dye. Orange.
Yeah. Okay. Those. Yeah. That's what my mom used when I was a kid.
That's right. So that was, basically my mom had to do it because I had no idea. And she was like, I'm not about to let you die in my house. And then, of course, the famous piece, the top hat.
That looks a little faded.
Oh, it's not. It's 25 years faded. Yeah.
Yes.
So
we might have to get a new top hat there.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. You don't want to ruin the magic of the orange and white tux. I mean, the Big Orange Tux, I don't want to ruin. And by the way, I actually went in the closet and found these. They've not been worn in 25 years. So these were the official fall shoes worn.
Wow.
Turn them to the side. Okay.
Wow.
So those are, what brand are those?
It's Walmart private label. I'm a frugal guy, Chris. I'm frugal.
You bought a tux and you topped them off with Walmart sneakers.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But they were the ones that had the ball logo on them, man. I needed to, I had to show up, and it's just shocked. I just tried them on; they still fit. So I have to wear them again. But I can only actually wear to run the team on the field. I told Philip Fulmer multiple years ago. He and I ran into each other, and he said, "My gosh, why don't you lead the team on the field again?" I go, "Coach, I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated. I only can show it for title games."
Yeah.
So my promise is Tennessee makes it to a title, and the university invites me, I'd be more than happy to lead them back out on the field. But in between, I really only, I'll wear it around. I can try to do on different shows and pieces like that, but it can only be worn on the field for the title game. Now, other people are welcome to. I think I talked to an individual the other day at UT about the potential for Smokey. I think they're going to design out like one of these, the Big Orange Tux for him to potentially wear during the games, which I think it's phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing how big this story has, I guess, become. And Chris Lowe actually texted me yesterday when the story was #1 on ESPN for like 8 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is like #1. It like had it up there. And I was just proud. I told my daughter, I said, I'm above Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Swifties.
Well, JR, I want to ask you next about how Chris Lowe knew about the story, knew to get in touch with you, and also just telling the story, because we've given a lot of the background, but you haven't actually told people.
You got to save that for your show. You got to save
right.
Yes, there, Chris.
And we're getting there. First of all, got to pay a couple of bills. Our show sponsored by CHOMPS. It is my go-to snack. It is perfect after a workout, halftime, whatever. 9 flavors, something there for everybody. So start with the trial pack. 6 different flavors and all 3 proteins, 9 to 10 grams of protein, 60 to 100 calories per stick, Whole30, keto, certified paleo, gluten-free, free of the top 9 allergens, no hidden harmful ingredients. CHOMPS tastes great. It's good for you, good for your kids. They sponsor our show. 15% off with the promo code that I think you will see in our show notes. So help those who help us and give CHOMPS a try. Also, myperfectfranchise.net sponsors our show. If you are sick of working for someone else and looking for a better life, and you can live more of your life on your terms, if you want to do that, I know the guy who can help you, and that is Andy Ludicky of myperfectfranchise.net. He helps you understand the risks and rewards of owning franchises. He will help you find the perfect franchise based on your goals and dreams, your skills, your financial requirements. He'll make it your personalized American dream. He will educate you on the process and work with you every step of the way. No obligation. His services are free. Call him 404-973-9901. Fill out a questionnaire to get started. Andy Ludicky of My Perfect Franchise is a friend of mine. They do great business. They are in this to help you. They are not in this to steer you towards a particular franchise for getting more money here or there. That's not how it works. And again, it costs you nothing. So go check out myperfectfranchise.net. Tell Andy you found about his business on our show, and he will be more than happy to help you out. Okay. First of all, how did Chris Lowe find you for this story? How did he know to find you?
Yeah, so obviously it happened 25 years ago. The only people that knew about this story are my friends, and what I would say, friends that knew me back in the day. And I apologize because I've been friends for almost a decade, and and I never just had brought the story up, but it kind of was fading out, so to speak. And I basically just looked at it by being in the psychiatry world of understanding, the world of dementia, things like that, where memory will be gone at some point. I was like, my God, this is a fun story, and I got to figure out a way to write this all down. And I'm a terrible writer. So at that point, it was actually after the Alabama game. We won that. And that kind of revived me of like, oh my gosh, Tennessee may be making it to a title game again. And at that point, I very quickly started just making notes, about the story, trying to recollect, and just talking to my buddies like Robbie Pope, Crawford, some other people that were quoted in the story. And then long story short, I reached out and I said, who's a really good writer? For Tennessee, and a friend of the Tennessee Collective basically said, Chris Lowe, he's the best, gave me his number. I reached out to Chris. I said, Chris, I want to tell you a fun story. I'd like your help on, just basically, I was even thinking about, Chris, one of the unique ideas originally was to write a short story and then sell the book for $19.98 with all proceeds going back to UT. And Chris heard the story, went, whoa. He goes, let me talk to ESPN because this might be a story ESPN wants to feature. And next thing you know, he texts me back and go, JR, we're doing the story. And I said, I don't know if that's good or bad, but okay, let's roll. And at that point, he said, I need names, I need numbers, I need everybody that had anything to do with that story. And that's where the 3-month or so, what I'll call spelunking journey of his research began. And so that's how we met. And the story, Gavin. So I had the two orange, the two tux. I had the peach one. I had the one that I magic markered. I then get ready to go to the game. I've got my, two of my best buds from high school. I went to Webb School in Knoxville. So it was Mark Sykes, Robbie Pope. We were flying out there. A bunch of my NBA classmates, including Blaine Cloud, who was quoted, they actually drove. And the way we got tickets is the NBA class, about, I think, 100 members. We went into the lottery and basically just made a deal that if we can get 15 tickets out of 100, those 15 will be the people that want to go to the game. So that way we made tickets for our class to get to the actual game. Flew out there. The story that Chris didn't capture, a couple of fun, little anecdotal facts, Gavin, you get the little behind the scenes here, is game day. I put the outfit on. First off, I wanted to wear it on the plane, and my buddy Robbie said, hell no, this thing's a good luck charm. You're not wearing it on the plane and getting it ruined. So I then said, fine. Game day, I put it on. We're basically in the Embassy Suites in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're walking in. We get in the elevator. And we walk in, and there's this two gentlemen in there, Robbie Pope and Mark Sykes are in there. We're going down. I look at him, and he goes, you're obviously a pretty big Tennessee fan. I said, yes, sir, I am. I go, who are you cheering for? He goes, I'm just here to flip the coin. I go, well, flip the coin for the title game? He goes, yeah. I go, how'd you get that job? He goes, I walked on the moon. And at that point, I said, really? He goes, Buzz Auburn. And so he said, as he walked out the other, he said, good luck to your team today, JR. And I introduced myself as JR Green, the Big Orange Tux Guy, here to show that Tennessee has class. Started in the elevator with Buzz Aldrin. Next thing you know, I get to the stadium, and everybody's wanting to take pictures. I mean, it's surreal. And I'm standing with my buddies, taking the pictures. And next thing you know, a lot of these fun pics, by the way, I did create a fun website called BigOrangeTux.com. With a lot of folks' help. And again, we'll be selling some fun stuff that'll be able to go back to the University of Tennessee. But more pictures of all this are at the very bottom of the page. But next thing you know, I'm walking around, and you see this large stadium. And just pretend it was somebody like Brooks and Dunn, some country duo. They were singing up there, like 5 guys on the band. And I look up there, I'm like, wow. And Robbie, my buddy, looks at me, he goes, JR, with that outfit, you can get up there and sing Rocky Top. And I'm like, I'm not going up on stage and getting put in jail before I even get inside the stadium. Gavin, the way it was set up is they had a big stadium, basically a huge concert pavilion outside of the stadium. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And he said, you're such a wimp. And I said, all right. And he talked me into it. Next thing you know, I walk up, huge, giant, bodyguard up at the stage. And I go, hey, my name's JR Green. I'm the Orange Tux Guy here to show that Tennessee has class. And he looked at me and I said, and I'm here to sing Rocky Top. And he goes, all right, come on up. So he let me up. I did them on stage. There's like 15 to 20,000 people.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And I look at the drummer, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, from a neon moon, just jamming. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, dude, I'm in the middle of a song. Like, he was so upset at me. So I said, okay, calm. I sat, song ended, and I said, hey, I'm here to sing the Rocky Top. And he goes, okay. Called over the duo singers. They come over. Next thing you know, they take their headpieces off and they put it on me. Next thing you know, I'm standing in front of 20,000 fans, and I totally freeze. I forgot the words. I was not expecting to be here at this time. And so next thing I know, I freeze, and I just said, I've only got one question for all of y'all. Who's going to win the national championship? Everybody's screaming. It's mostly ball fans anyway. And then I just said, Rocky Top, you'll always be. And I just start, a cappella Rocky Top. At that point, I don't know the words anymore. The band, like a movie, all of a sudden pulls out a fiddle and they start playing Rocky Top. Gavin, you can't make this stuff up. Pulling up a fiddle.
That's
so
wild.
At that point, I then look down. There's two young ladies. Well, there's a bunch, but I pick out two to come up on stage with me. And they run. I pick out the guards, let them. I think these two, bring them up. They come up. And because I went to TCU, I learned how to country dance at Billy Bob's. I was a very good country dancer. Next thing you know, I've got these girls, and we're just singing Rocky Top, doing do-si-do, up on that stage, twirling, and I actually know how to do the twirl between the legs and around the back and stuff. And so these girls are flying all over the place. Fans love it. Song ends. I go down on the field. People are now taking my picture. They think I'm some celebrity. So I'm like signing autographs with just like scribble. So I'm like, I don't know who they think I am. My buddies look at me and I say, hey, I want to get on stage, not stage. I want to get into the stadium without having my ticket torn. Because that year I went to a ton of games. Half of my tickets are torn. I mean, like, you take the ticket, they never pay attention. They just tear the stub off and rip half the ticket with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was like, I refuse to have this ticket torn because we're going to win today, and I want to be able to frame it. And so at that point, I told my buddies, I was like, hey, I've got to find a way in the stadium. I think I could just walk in with this outfit. I just got on stage and sang Rocky Top. So I walked down, I go through the team entrance. Chris Loeb actually had to help me know where I went in because I was like, I think I went in through like the press. Because you didn't go through the press because I would have seen you. You probably went to the team entrance on the lower level. I was like, okay, got it. So went in, I'm on the team entrance. I'm walking down. And at that point, I begin to just kind of look around. And all of a sudden I see in the left-hand corner, the ESPN Game Day booth. And Gavin, they've only been around for like 3 years. Since you haven't read the story, it's all these fun little factoids. But I looked up, and I'm going to do a little Pulp Fiction storytelling on you. The night before, this whole crew and I went to a party, and Kirk Herbstreit was there. And I ran up to Kirk, and I said, Kirk, if I show up in an orange and white tuxedo tomorrow, will you put me on game day? He just said, yes, I will absolutely put you on game day. All right, fast forward to game day. I look up. There's these rickety stairs that kind of go up to the game day booth set. I literally start climbing them. Just picture like New York style, stairs. I get up to there, open up this door. I'm now literally pulling up in this tuxedo with this big old hat coming through. Like, just imagine the tux hat just kind of coming through the backside of the, event. And all of a sudden I'm standing there, and then I see Kirk, and I literally had to pick this door open and then shut it behind me. And there's like 3 film guys just like, sitting up there, the game day crew. And I go, Kirk, it's me. And he goes like this. Oh, dear God. He just goes like this, and then he goes. So now I get to go on game day. 1998. So I'm on the back of the game day. People in the audience that I know are yelling, going, JR, what are you doing up there? It's got the Tennessee fan. And Chris wrote some great stories about all the Jack Daniel bottles being thrown into the netting area above it. Session ends, game day show ends, and Chris Fowler walks up to me. And he literally, I'll never forget this moment. He walked up. On this tuxedo, I think it was on this side, and he literally grabs and rubs the side of it and looks at it and he goes, you're not legit. You're not a real mascot. At that moment, I thought I was going to jail because Chris Fowler, I thought, didn't like Tennessee. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm dead. I'm going to jail. I'm going to miss the game. It hadn't even started yet. And he goes, you know what? That took a lot of guts to come up here. You want to come down on the field with us? Yes, I would love that opportunity. So at that point, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, they take me down. I now walk with them, semi-legit now. I go down there. They begin to walk due left. And as a Tennessee fan, all of us have our own SEC fandom. And when you have a moment like that, even if you're Alabama and you unfortunately have won a whole lot of titles, you feel great each time you have that opportunity. And I was able to walk out on the field. Those guys have gone like due left. I'm probably 50 feet away from them. I'm standing there just taking it, and there's an eagle that flies, comes back down. We're in this big orange tux. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, some guy taps me on the shoulder. Says, excuse me, who are you? And I went, flashing again. Oh, my God, I'm going to jail. And he looks at me and he says, who are you? I go, I'm J.R. Green. I'm the Big Orange Tux Guy. I'm here to show that Tennessee has class. And he goes, wait, are you here to lead the team on the field? Like, gentlemen, if someone ever
Yes,
asks
I
you,
am.
you say the answer is yes. And even though the article says I'm an Eagle Scout, trustworthy are one of the top principles of a Boy Scout. I literally looked at him. I said, yes, I am. And he goes, then let's go. And at that point, the guy in front of me has the dog. I'll never forget these quotes. You could just tell he's like just so focused on the live dog, on the Smokey. He goes, hey man, listen to me. The dog runs zigzag, and if you fall, they're going to run over you. I said, I'm not going to fall. He goes, then lead us to a title. I put my literally right hand on my ham, the number 1 up, and I led the national championship team to a national championship.
I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah, but anybody that's heard this story says the same thing. It's BS. That didn't happen. But now I think that's why it ends up being a top story on ESPN, because it's documented now.
Is there any footage? Is there
Yeah, it's in the website. You got to read that article.
Okay. I'll look at it, because I hate that happened. Oh, first off, thank you for sharing, man. That's unbelievable. And that's just, there's power in confidence. If you walk in somewhere and you tell people you belong, like, there's power in that. I remember I have buddies when the Nashville Predators were in the Stanley Cup final who snuck in and got like to the club level in the locker room and stuff just by convincing the people at the front that they walked in. They like walked in with like a cardboard box. They're like, oh yeah, they're good to go. And so there's power in that, man. But holy smokes, because I hate that happened in '98 though, because if it was now, there's probably be 30,000 videos of people filming you on their phones and whatnot.
Yeah, that's kind of what makes it so special. Like you just said, Chris, why didn't I share the story with you? Because this is like, I have to, I just gave you the story. It takes a couple of minutes to go through this whole thing.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, and we're sitting there watching our boys trying to hit a ball. We're focused on hit the ball. It's hard to, get a whole story out.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend, another friend who has snuck into a Super Bowl and a World Series. And it's exactly what it's showing up and acting like you belong there.
Yep.
Now, one time he got very lucky. He was standing outside the gate for a Braves World Series game. I think this would have been one of the ones in the 90s. And somebody just looked at him here, and he was just standing there. He said, well, don't just stand there, grab something and help us out here. So he basically got a free invite into the stadium. He said, sure. And then he acted like he was part of the crew carrying in whatever and got in that way. The other time he snuck into the whatever dome they were in and slept in a broom closet for 24 hours. So thankfully yours was
something similar I did related to being in a broom closet about the Golden Globes. Gavin, that story is on the article as well, but go ahead, Chris.
No, I want to hear this.
By the way, your friend Bernie, I think he's your friend that has the show in Knoxville, who mentioned the story.
Tony,
yes.
Yeah.
He had the same on his show. I think he had a piece of it. And one of my buddies, I think his cousin Robbie, sent me the clip of what he said the other day. And he had the exact same thing you said, Gavin and Chris, is that if you have confidence, and he was going on stories about someone who got all these autographs from different famous artists. But the big thing is having confidence and being able to do it. And I will say that even works today, but 9/11 changed everything.
Yeah.
And I think getting on there, if I think about it, Chris, one of the great weird things is I used to have no credentials whatsoever. And now I've been very, very fortunate where I have credentials. It almost feels weird, having all the proper credentials at all these events I go to. But you're exact. Yeah. 9/11 really put a hamper on party crashing 101.
Well, the best part about this story is, somebody out there is probably thinking this guy needed a few drinks to make this happen to get I know you well enough. I know there was no alcohol involved.
There was no alcohol. There was none. Chris,
you did this on your own.
Like, that guy had to be hammered.
Nope. I know you too well. Although not as well as I thought I did. But in any case,
JR, help me understand how you leave these guys out. The peak of your fandom existence. How the hell did you get off the field? And how did you get back to your seat to watch the game? Were you on the sideline the rest of the time?
Yeah, I forgot about that part about it. So, first off, when I ran out, I had no darn clue where I was supposed to go, Gavin.
Right.
I just was following this Smokey dog, and then all of a sudden I was like, I don't know. I think I don't want to go left and run over, Davy Crockett, who clearly in the article said he'd be angry at me if I got in front of him. So I'm glad I didn't get in front of him. I was kind of to the side of him because with these darn freaking Walmart shoes, they're so slow. I was like petrified I was going to fall. And so next thing you know, I'm running. I start going full right. Like team is like going like this to the left. I just start going full right. Literally ended up like near center field 20-yard line. And the team is all over on the other side. And I'm just like, uh-oh, I'm in the wrong place. But I did one of these little, I was like, this is amazing. I did have to do one of those little edited circle, man. So then I walked back with the team. and they ushered me toward the back because all the cheerleaders, everyone has to go to the back because the players are now at the front. I vaguely remember walking right by Phil Fulmer, and now I'm in the back. I can't see anything. I mean, it's so the players' helmets and everything. I'm 6'2", and there was probably with inflated Walmart shoes 6'4", and I mean, I still couldn't see over the helmets. And so at that point, I was like, I got to leave, and I literally coincidentally just walked back to my seat. I didn't know that the security was looking for me until I read the articles, 12 hours ago. That apparently there'd been a big break on. There's somebody on the field that's not supposed to be here. But by sheer Vegas, the story of it is, Gavin, if I had gone to Vegas with the luck I had on January 4th, 1999, I would be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Because it was playing craps and not taking over 8 rounds. I think it was 8 things that had to go per. You just let it ride. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Or 11. But at the end of the day, ended up back in my stands. And on the funny part, there was these, you'll see some of these pictures if you go to the website. There were these 2 Florida State fans that I ended up hanging out with, and they were just like, they just loved the Orange Tux. And I just want everybody to know it wasn't Benedict Arnold, okay? I'm just trying to make peace, at the national title game. But it was ended up watching it with the rest of my friends. And if you read the article, it's hilarious because Robbie, one of my best friends, he didn't believe me. I said, Robbie, I just led the team on the field. He goes, shut up. He's like, bull, you didn't read it. This is one of your stories. Just stop. Let's just watch the game. Okay. Finally, he was like, oh my God, after he got home and he saw the camcorder clip, which is what is on there. Shocking. Chris, Gavin, it's unbelievable. The only footage of this and maybe someone else can find other footage somewhere. The only footage is from Meredith Christenberry, a classmate of mine who actually brought a camcorder in and filmed the intro. That's all we've got. 1998 camcorder VHS old school shooting.
Wow.
And so it's on the website. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who've been watching this because I think, Chris, going back to your point, I hadn't told the story. I think there were only like 300 people that have watched that video. It's now I think surpassed 30,000.
Yeah.
So it was a surreal moment, but that's what I ended up doing at the end of the day, Gavin, just watching the event and then partying like crazy for the rest of the evening when we won.
Wow.
The internal clock had to be going, okay, I've only got so much more time to pull this off before I need to get off the field. What was your key, or did you just want to go watch the game?
I wanted to watch the game. I was like, I could have stayed. I had the guts and feeling that I could have stayed on the field the whole time. Again, I didn't know what was happening with security, but because until literally you read Chris's article, he said that a lot of people were getting fired up. People were trying to find out. You got to have credentials to be down here. I didn't know any of that. I was just like, I watched the whole first quarter. I mean, at least half of the first quarter from down there for a good 30 minutes because I didn't get back. It was my buddy said, where the heck is he? Did he get arrested? Is he sick? How the hell did he miss the team running out on the field? Like the most, iconic element of Tennessee Vol fandom is running through the tee. And he's like, how the hell did he miss that from the title game? I'm like, baby, I didn't miss it. I let it.
Wow.
Now, how did this? When you got back home, did your parents know about this, and what was that conversation like? I know you're in grad school by that point, but still,
Yes.
parents still keep an eye on you in your 20s.
Yeah, they do. And my mom was just like, oh, baby, she's just like, because again, it's 1998. The only people that knew about it were the people that saw it or experienced it when I told them the story like I just did. There was no footage.
Right.
I had a little video, the camcorder thing, but like I said, a couple hundred people had viewed that over 25 years. So, I mean, it's it just wasn't like, my parents were like, that's great, but it's not like today. You're right. Had someone been able to, you couldn't do that today. There's just no chance. But if it did happen, you'd be all over media channels, all over the place. And like you just said, to be 100,000 phones videoing it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's unbelievable. It reminds me, I remember I saw this thing recently. I think maybe the thing that I can relate to the most is there's this video a couple years ago of this guy who looked like Klay Thompson. He went and warmed up in the middle of the finals game, and people realized it wasn't him. Like, this is the closest thing I can think to that. But dude, you made it all the way. Right on, dude. That is something tells me that video is the only video we got, and with this story coming out, something's going to tell me that people are going to start looking back in their archives, and we may be able to find some more footage. So,
and to media, I would love to know the band that let me on stage.
Yeah.
Let me see. Chris and I tried to look forever to find the band name. We thought we had a couple. So if the band, that's where the footage gets going. If the band folks hear this, they're not going to forget it. They're not going to forget it because there was a guy doing do-si-do and they're playing the darn violin and singing Rocky Top. So some out there in 1998, some band performed, and I'd love to know the name of the band. That would be kind of cool to kind of put that whole story back together. But yeah, no, it was a pretty incredible event. And I think, as you said before, it took a lot of confidence. But after you do something like that, your confidence actually builds even more.
Sure.
And in 99, I actually was with Coca-Cola. So before then, I was actually the local Knoxville Surge man. So I actually drove around a big checkered cab, and I would be on the radio and stuff like, J.R. Green here, the Surge man. So, I had a couple of little fun things with Coca-Cola Company. And then, by the way, a high octane drink that I would sell into elementary schools. No joke.
Wow.
Now, was this?
It was a Jolt competitor.
Was this before or after the DJ gig?
No, the DJ gig was back in LA when I did J-Rock. So that was the radio DJ piece, which I'm clearly a terrible DJ because I have no mic. I've turned into a CEO now, so now I just don't have all these cool things like you guys do. It's definitely the big piece there in terms of those stories is they just kept coming. But after the Surge Man, that was then I went to work for Coca-Cola, got my MBA. Upon graduating, I went to go work for Procter & Gamble, and P&G moved me out to Los Angeles, and that was incredible. So you just took a moment like that, and you'll read in this story, I got on The Price is Right, Gavin. And how I got on The Price is Right, I know.
Like Forrest Gump, dude.
That's what the article basically says, and it's true. And you'll see me wearing an Ohio Swimming sweatshirt because I was at Procter & Gamble. And if you all know any reputation of Procter & Gamble, called Proctoids, we're very, strict. Show up 15 minutes early or you're late. And my buddy, a good friend of mine named Lenny Cabrera, who worked at Procter & Gamble as well, called me up and said, JR, you need to be at my house tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. We got a big customer call. I was like, okay. So I show up in my full, my full, Procter & Gamble suit. I'm there with him. And the next thing you know, he's like, JR, I had to lie to you because I knew you wouldn't come because it's a work day, but we're going to go to The Price is Right, and you're coming with us. I was like, Lenny, I have to go to the office. Like, I can't, what are you talking about? Price is Right? I don't have time. I've got to go to I got to go be my account manager role at Procter & Gamble. He's like, take a deep breath, put this sweatshirt on that said Ohio Swimming. Randomly, he said, we all have to wear college gear to The Price is Right because that's how you get called in. And next thing you know, 6 a.m., we're down at the CBS studios. I'm waiting in line. The way that CBS Studios does The Price is Right is they interview 13 people that get into the fan, setting for each show. Live setting, and they interview all 213 people over that period of like 2 hours before they go in, and you have like 10 seconds, tell them your name and why you should be on The Price is Right. Well, the story comes full circle. I went up to them, they said, okay, your name is J.R. Green. Why should you be on The Price is Right? I said, well, just this year, I actually dressed up in a big orange tux and I led the national championship team on the field. Next, just cold. Next. I was like, okay. And then you go into the setting, and the first name called was mine. They were like, and they actually had to use my legal name because of IRS purposes if you win a prize. So my name is John Robert Green. So they said, John Green, come on down. I just start running down. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then, yes, I was on contestants row. I was the first guy called in, the last guy to get up there. Bob Barker loved it. And I think the only fun thing, if you want to watch that video, Gavin, it's right there with the Tennessee Tux as well.
I will.
But you'll see me do like this chi thing and then like a karate kick before I spin the wheel, and I got 10 cents. It's so embarrassing. But I lost, obviously. I did not win. I think I got 70 cents on the second roll. The girl in front of me got $1. It's game over. I think it was rigged because they didn't want me to win. They didn't want me on, the Showcase Showdown.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that was The Price is Right. And that was a lot of fun to be able to get that story. And then while in LA, I just did it. I definitely was working with Procter & Gamble, but I spent a lot of time on just a lot of fun. We could have a whole show just to talk about some of the crazy stuff done in Los Angeles, guys. But there were some wild stories. They captured the one about the Golden Globes. It was great. And then you go fast forward. So I was in LA for about 4 to 5 years. Then got promoted to the Walmart Procter & Gamble team in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So I ran new business development. Started a band there called the Carpetbaggers because we were all from all out. Nobody was from Fayetteville. I was a singer, terrible guitarist, but did that. Then left, went to New York City for Revlon, where I became marketing director and then global marketing for them. And then made my way back to Nashville. I'm now the CEO of Psychiatric Medical Care organization. We have 300 locations in 35 states, providing outpatient, inpatient. Even here in Middle Tennessee, Embrace You is our program for adolescent children ages basically 10 to 18. just doing some incredible work in the mental health, and where mental health is just so desperately needed. And I don't know how you spin anything else you could, but I know my company, when this story broke, they were like, whoa, wow. Because not many people in my office, some of them knew the story, Chris, but not everybody. And they wrote a really nice thing in Psychiatric Medical Care. And they basically just said, hey, our CEO brings the same level of energy he did to lead the team on the field. He does that with us and for our patients every day.
Wow.
Well, you've been good for our mental health today. We appreciate you joining. I got to ask you one more thing on the way out. Anything that you remembered after telling Chris Lowe the story, or maybe any details that didn't make it to the story? Because you said it's a long read, and it's worth every word, by the way. And anything that maybe didn't get mentioned in there that's worth a mention here?
I think the Buzz Aldrin, the piece of it. I think that afterwards, another piece I did is I told you I tried to do that little carpetbagger band. I sent him a picture of this. This is a really kind of wild story, but the Bailey brothers are like my great uncles, and they are the individuals that helped start Dolly Parton's career. And so I actually, I got this video. This is funny. I had to frame it because it was so good. So I basically wrote these two like country patriotic songs, and I sent them to Dolly Parton to ask for her to listen. So here's what they look like. You can see, look, I got that little country look going. And then you've got the letter from Dolly. You can't read it on your show, but let me just tell you what it says real nicely. JR, thank you so much for this. It's a long-lived way, but bottom line, she says, at this time, I have no outlet for your music, so I can't help you with it, other than to enjoy it and wish you well. So basically, Dolly said, stick to my day job.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Well, JR, really appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to seeing you back at the ballpark soon. Have a great week, and give us a pick on South Carolina, Tennessee.
I'm going to go with the same thing. I think it's going to be close, but Tennessee is going to pull it out. Joe Milton's going to get he's going to be throwing some tight ones. The overthrows are going to stop. Overthrow Joe's changing his brand in the South Carolina guy. They're going to be tight like what he did against Clemson. I think we're going to get a W, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, by the way, Chris, don't forget to tell your listeners that you and I are going to be doing our very first live broadcast together from one of a Little League team, East Williamson County Sounds. So don't forget that one.
This guy's been on me forever for us to do a live broadcast of our son's 9-year-old baseball game. So it's going to happen anyway. It's certainly going to happen after this. So JR, have a good weekend.
I know nothing about baseball, so you got to educate everybody on the rules, because I don't. I still call it passing.
I'll be here for that. All right. He's JR Green. He's the Big Orange Tux Guy. For Gavin Schoenwald and Blake Lovell, my co-host, I'm Chris Lee. This is SEC Daily on Southeastern 14. We do this every day from 11 to noon every day. Don't usually have Big Orange Tux Guy on with us. That was a special treat. But we talk SEC football every day from 11 to noon Central. Hope you'll catch that. Thanks for watching. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back at this again on Monday.
Thanks, Chris. See you soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
That was wild.
You can see why I had him on.
Yeah, that was wild. Yeah. That was nuts. But what a story! What a story!
And I knew he